Good morning to everyone. Thank you for that response. That very rarely happens, I will say. So I'm encouraged to begin again. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. That's lovely, thank you. It is a good morning. It's really lovely to be here with all of you. Congratulations to shrm for the amazing work that you've been doing year on year, unceasingly, tirelessly, to build community, to build partnerships, to strengthen the community of HR and to empower everyone at every level of the workplace. This conference that's happening this year is again really wonderful, dynamic, and I know that it's going to add so much value to everyone that has been a part of it. Thank you for having me here at the outset. There is one question almost every thinking individual at some point in their life asks, who am I? You ask this of yourself, or if you're completely at a crossroads or have been up against a battering ram once too often, you ask this of the divine force that you believe in. Who am I? Why am I? I'm going to start with who am I? Identity is the foundation of everything that we do in life. Identity defines our thought processes. It dictates our decision making. And it directs the path that we take at every junction and every fork in the road that we come through in life. Again, why identity becomes the cornerstone and yet the bane of our lives is that today, almost all of us have three such identities. A professional persona, who you are when you get up in the morning, put on your work face, head into office, pick up your phone, turn on your computers, get on your calls. You are a professional. Your personality, your thinking, your approach, your drive, your problem-solving skills are all of a particular kind. And then you have personal identity. Who are you when you're away from work? When you've hung up your work shoes? Are you a mother? Father, a son, daughter, spouse, friend, cousin? That's a totally different person. Demands completely different life skills. And now, especially over the last 4 or 5 years, what has become very, very distinct is that almost all of us have or aspire to have a social persona. With the advent of social media at everybody's fingertips, access to everybody, never before in the history of mankind, I would say, has the ability and the freedom to create your own persona for the world to see been so freely available, so democratically available to simply everybody. Regardless of language, regardless of social strata, regardless of educational qualifications, nothing matters. You can be somebody on social media. And social media is where most of us decide who we want to be and how we want to be seen. Now it's really amazing that we have these three kinds of identities, all completely distinct. Would you agree with me? If you would, I would love to hear that. Would you agree with me? Yeah. So it's really cool that we can get to be these three different kinds of people in our life literally every day, because you don't get a day off from being a professional, you don't get a day off from being, mom, dad or whoever, and you don't give yourself a day off from being a social person. But then what is happening with these three personas existing simultaneously within your skin is also a fragmentation. a fragmentation of one's own identity, because somehow these three identities have become completely disparate. And somewhere we feel that we are losing the commonality that should actually be binding all of these three things together. Which is why I started with the question of who am I? What is my identity is a question that all of us need to stop and ask ourselves, because we're running so fast and we're running so hard in the world today. We always have a goal that we've reached and the next one's already up there, just out of reach. In all our different facets of life, this is the truth. If anyone tells me, no, I've got it all together, I would say I'm very happy for you, but, you know, it's very hard. It's probably the most difficult thing for us to stop and say, and to look within ourselves and say, you know what, I'm not so sure of this. I'm not so sure of what I should do next. I'm not so sure if I'm on the right path. I don't feel so good about what I've given up to get here. I'm scared of the choice I need to make in front of me because of what I might leave behind. This kind of honesty when one is talking with oneself is very scary. It's very difficult to have this kind of talk with yourself. Especially when there are so many voices out there in print, in media, in social media, just everywhere around you telling you, oh, you know, this is who you can be, this is who you should be, this is who you are. Again, I stress upon an individual's identity being the cornerstone and the foundation of who they are, because only when you're sure in yourself of who you are or who you want to be, your decision-making process in every part of your life suddenly does become clear. It's not a question of saying, you know, you can talk like this, you're a celebrity, you can, you know, say things and do things and be lauded for it or, you know, whatever. No. Especially being a celebrity, especially being up on a platform that exposes you to simply anybody and everybody's eyes and perspective and opinions, which means everybody has their own perspective of you, actually makes one even more vulnerable. Have you guys ever thought of it that way? I would definitely assume that would be very less that you would think of it that way. But yet, speaking for myself, if some of you know me, if some of you know of my life, which I have always shared with everyone, because it's life, it's a journey, and you know, everyone out there who has watched my movies, who has appreciated my work, who has supported me when I've said I'm going through something difficult, who's felt for me, who's walking the same steps that I have walked in, you're all a part of my life. So I share my life with people because it's a journey that I'm walking, and if there's something in my life, something that I have experienced, some decisions I've made, some lessons I've learned that could help someone in the same situation, then I'm glad for it. Because I think that's the ultimate way in which your own life can have meaning. Nobody's life is completely unique. We all feel that we're the only ones feeling that pain and that angst and that joy and that victory and success, but actually it is the human story, it is the human condition. And when we share, we become that much stronger. Coming back to this whole thing of identity, how does one figure out who am I? How do I anchor the three persona within myself as one? There are several different ways. There are many different gurus who would give you paths to that. They would give you information, they would give you techniques. I would say at the innermost core of that journey, one has to learn to be brutally honest with oneself. For me, what has always helped when I'm at a crossroads or I'm faced with two very difficult choices, if I did this, could I live with myself? If I did not do this, could I live with myself? That's a great way of figuring out what is right for you. And when you start figuring out what is right for you, what you will do, what you won't do, what you can do and what you can't do, you will start figuring out and start defining to yourself who you are. And trust me, I am seeing a lot of disassociation within people because I talk to a lot of people. I go to a lot of schools, a lot of colleges, a lot of companies, corporate employees, HR conferences, conferences of, say, medical surgeons. In many places, I'm finding that there is a huge gap between people's grounding, where they come from and where they are right now. Like, for example, I'll give you a small example. As I said, I work with a lot of colleges. Work with as in the sense that I visit them and talk to them and, try to kind of give them some motivation and a picture of life ahead of them. And there is this group of institutions in Tamil Nadu that run colleges for girls only. And they have a student base of about, say, over 20,000 students. More than 80% of these girls are first-time college-going students in their entire family history. And the way this college makes it happen is that they have a team that goes to every little village, every little hamlet, goes to literally every little home and probably even a hut, catch all of the parents, sit them down, explain to them what an education could mean for their child and for themselves. And they undertake to safely pick up their daughter from their doorstep every morning, take them to college, after the day is done, drop them back safely at that very same spot. These parents who, a lot of them are struggling to make ends meet on daily wages, take that leap of faith, they send their children to college. And I have been at several of these convocation functions, and when I see these young women, such great pride. I mean, they would blend seamlessly into any kind of an urban crowd. Turn around and ask me, "Ma'am, may I invite my mother up on stage?" I said, "Yes, please do." And this one young girl goes down, and this lady was sitting in a corner. You could see that she was not of an urban background. She wore her sari in a very traditional way. Seemed very shy and uncertain of herself. She puts her arm around this lady who's bent over with years of hard work, hands are wrinkled, nails are cracked. She brings her up, shepherds her up onto that stage as if it's the most precious treasure on earth and said, "I am here and I have a campus job and I'm going to be earning 30,000 rupees from next month. And my mother has worked her entire life to earn 3,000 rupees a month so that I could be here." I wept that day. I'm overcome now also when I remember that mother and I remember that daughter, that child. But what I'm trying to say is there are so many of these youngsters coming from backgrounds that are non-urban, that are non-cosmopolitan, that do not have the social norms that people in these, more urbanized societies take for granted. And when these young people come with dreams in their eyes and so much of hope in their hearts, they work so hard to make their life into what they would dream of only, and they come into this environment. They go through the interview process, the screening, the training, the onboarding by HR, and they take their place and they're hit with a completely devastating culture shock. This is a place that's significantly costing many, many people a lot. For any company, its true asset, and this is something I don't have to tell you, but I will say it. For any company, its true asset and its strongest wealth is in its last employee. when every last employee on the company's rolls gives their all to doing that job to the best of their ability to hold the values of the company high and to go above and beyond their own limitations to achieve the tasks that as a team they have been inspired to do, is when the company will achieve its vision. So there are two sides of this. When you empower your employees, not just with skills, not just with job skills, technical skills, soft skills, where you have retreats, where you have team sports, you build team skills and decision making and leadership and all of that, all that's great. But what I would like to see more recognition of is the remembrance and the continuous acknowledgement of the fact that each one of the employees is an individual human being. And mechanisms I would like to see put in place to constantly sort of keep a record, to monitor, and to keep an eye on and to nurture what every employee is going through outside of work skills. A happy employee, happy workplace, yes, all of that, has been spoken about for many decades in management. But I would really like to see this new era of human resources management stepping forward with that perspective, where every individual is not only an employee number 1, 2, 3, but is an individual with their own strengths and weaknesses. And once you have taken them on board as a member of your team, then they should be worth your while to invest into them and their welfare as an individual, as a human being. This will truly be the root that builds an unshakable organization and a company that really sets its feet very strong and moves ahead clearly. We could speak a lot about this, but I also do know that Nisha has enough questions probably that would help us to expand on this conversation. So, shall we?
Yes.
I haven't been keeping an eye on the time. You have time.
Okay. We are good. So, I must begin by saying that, and I keep saying this all the time, I am truly privileged to be in a line of work that gives me the opportunity to interact with truly inspirational persons such as yourself. And I must say, the warmth that you exude as a person has truly blown me away. I had to put this here on record. Thank you for all that you do and the way you have dealt with our questions and our entire interaction. I've been fortunate again to have had very long conversations with Gautami, and I must also thank Dr. Palan for having put us through to such a wonderful person. And we have a few questions for you, like Gautami mentioned. I would also request all the attendees here, in case you do have questions, you are free to access the conference app and post your questions there, provided we have time. There is severe paucity of it at this moment, but we will try and take some of those. And while you do, may I begin with the first question for you. The three personas that you mentioned, who we think we are, who others think we are, and who we really are. In the current dynamic AI-led times, how do you recommend that each of us stay true to ourselves, be as authentic as possible, because the lure to be artificial is very high and it's ever present. What would you recommend and what do you do?
Good question, right? Technology of any kind, be it AI, be it your cell phone, be it the fax, whatever it is. Any technology is simply a tool. And a tool in your hand what you decide you want to do, right? So I think rather than technology, it's about you deciding what you want to do. So your decisions, are they governed by who you are and what you want? Again, coming back to what I was saying in the beginning. Or is it going to be defined by social expectations of you? Peer pressure, or she's doing that, he's doing that, or someone on social media looks a certain way, or is living a certain life. So you always have the choice of saying, hey, you know what, that's great, but this is what I want. And I will use that same tool to get what I want in the way that's right for me.
Perfect. And what role really does it play, or what ensures that I have that ability to discern between this is what I want vis-a-vis this is what the world wants me to be? Is it who you are, or is it the circumstances that you're brought up in, that entire combination of nature versus nurture? What do you think contributes majorly to that?
Okay, the reason I started smiling when she was talking is I know what I'm going to say is going to get very mixed reactions. Let go of your fear. Most of us are driven by our fear. Our fear of falling short, our fear of not catching up, our fear of not being everything that we could be, our fear of not being everything that everybody else is. Because when you go on a social media app, for example, you scroll through 100 videos, right? Reels, shorts, whatever. And that's 100 different people living 100 different lives in 100 different worlds. Yet, we measure ourselves up against all of those videos at once. That I don't look like that, I don't have this, I don't know. It's fear that drives you, thinking that if you don't do all of those, you are less than a human being, or you're the worst thing possible. You are less than a success. This is the fear we need to let go of. Once we let go of that, and then we say, yes, I am who I am. And I am great as I am, because in every role that I play, I work with my heart, I put my heart into it, I'm true to myself, I'm true to the task that I've taken up, I uphold my commitments to the best of my ability, and when I can't, I'm honest about it. I sleep with a clear mind, and I'm not afraid to open my door in the morning. So when you let go of your fear, that's what you could get to.
Awesome.
Difficult to do, but once you do it for the first time, trust me, it's so exhilarating. It's the biggest rush that you could get hooked on, and then life changes. Just try it once. Just try it 3 times.
Wonderful. At this point, I think we should take a quick audience poll. We have a couple of questions for you, and we would love to see what your thoughts are on. The first one is on, to what extent does an identity crisis exist in today's world? That's almost unanimous. Wonderful. And there's another question in quick succession on how important is psychological safety at workplaces. Again, taking the cue from the fear and the need to overcome that we just discussed. I think that's almost 100% in agreement.
Can I just share a couple of quick thoughts? The first one was about
the extent to which an identity crisis exists.
So that was what 60%? Very high. About 35% that was moderate. I'm glad that that awareness is there. I'm really glad that awareness is there, because that's where you begin to start saying, I'm not happy with the status quo. I want to make a quantum shift. I want to move from where I am to where And that is where you start affecting the change. And either one sits around, waits for someone to do it, or one starts making the effort within themselves. It's a personal journey at the end of the day. I have to think, I have to face harsh truths about myself. I have to face myself in the mirror and say, no, what you did or what you thought or how you reacted was not what you should have done, and then move on from there to say who I want to be and how I want to be. So the identity crisis, something acknowledged, is really good. And the second one?
On psychological safety, again it was very unanimous in terms of how important it is. It was almost, I think, 90% in agreement.
Yeah, but my interest goes towards the 3 and the 4% that said it was not that important. So I'm intrigued by the thought process that thinks that it's not important to be psychologically safe or protected or nurtured in a workplace. Because a workplace today, a professional workplace like all of yourselves are a part of, is extremely competitive. And I would say, you could, excuse my terminology, but I would say at times it could even probably get aggressively, viciously so. So in such an environment, I am very intrigued by that mind that would say psychological safety is not very important. So I would say that that's something that you guys would probably glean a lot from when you introspect as teams.
Wonderful. I think we have just about a minute or so. May I request you for any closing thoughts to leave our very eminent set of people here. They lead organizations, they lead the entire workforces of huge corporates. Any parting words for them before we end this session, please?
As I said, it's an honor to have been here, to be up on this stage, sharing thoughts with all of you who have achieved the positions and the status that you have in your own life and career through sheer hard work and determination. And I respect you no end for that, every one of you. So I salute all of you for that. I would like to share a few words in parting. The workplace, especially the Indian workplace, has never been this dynamically diverse. Socio-culturally, socio-economically, ethnically diverse, literacy diversity, language diversity. It has never been such a completely mixed, gloriously confused, dynamic world as it is today. As challenging as it is, it has the potential to be multiple number of times that much productive and successful. So I would urge that you have thought processes, mechanisms, and most importantly, utilize technology to track and to monitor and to support and to preempt personal and growth crises that any one of your team members might be having at any point in time. Technology is a wonderful thing. I don't believe in this thing of technology spoiling people or reducing attention spans. It's because we do not control our usage of it. We have become slaves to it, but technology is just a tool. So I would urge that you would look into creating mechanisms that would recognize and respect and nurture every individual of your team as a human being that needs care above and beyond technical and workplace qualifications. And it is at that time that we will truly be able to realize the amazing potential that every one of us has to give. And in doing that, you would have empowered that one person to be themselves, and with all three personas within themselves becoming one, and be the strongest and best and most beautiful people that they can. This is in your hands. And I leave this thought with you with every confidence that you will take it forward. Thank you once again for having me here. It's been wonderful. I wish you all a wonderful, healthy and happy life.